Defying destiny, Alhassane Baldé, Tim Focken, and Britta Kripke are three athletes and role models achieving the extraordinary. Alhassane Baldé is on his way to training. He moved from Guinea to Germany as a child, and after arriving, discovered the sport that became his life.
When I came to Germany at the age of 5, my parents and I went to a trade fair because we didn't know what you can do here as a wheelchair user and what new developments there had been. We found a mini racing wheelchair at a stand for a wheelchair company, and I was so fascinated, I asked if I could try it out, and they let me. I flew around the hall and had so much fun that after that, I kept asking my parents if we could go back to the trade fair, so I could try that racing wheelchair again.
This fascination quickly turned into a profession, and the sports centre in Bonn became his second home. Alongside his job at the employment office, Alhassane trains here 12 times per week with his coach, Alois Gemeiner. It's a punishing schedule, but the Paralympian is living his dream.
I'm an absolute speed freak. I love everything to do with speed. And wheelchair racing has the added bonus that you drive yourself, control your own speed, and compete with other racers.
In Wettkampf mit anderen treten kann.
The chair weighs 8 kilograms and allows Alhassane to reach speeds of up to 38 kilometers per hour. The key is holding an aerodynamic sitting position. Endurance exercises, interval training, tactics, wheelchair racing has many different facets.
You have the handlebars, and when we race, you also have the track control mechanism. So you just knock this here, and that changes the direction of the front wheel. That means I don't have to steer the whole time. And then when I come out of the curve, I just knock it again so that the front wheel is straight.
Strength training is especially important for the 34-year-old. He's paraplegic, so having strong back and core muscles is a necessity if he wants to race at the top level.
I've been racing for more than 30 years now. Obviously, things have changed step by step. I've learnt a lot of things and different training methods. But at the end of the day, I do it because it's fun for me, and I have big ambitions.
Setting new goals and using sport to start a new life is a story that applies to Tim Focken too. The former paratrooper nearly lost his life during a military deployment in 2010.
I've always been very sporty, and I enjoy trying new things. I can't do exercises with heavy weights anymore, so I have to focus on individual sports and exercises that help me improve at shooting.
Tim was a passionate athlete. His career and private life were on track. But then a deployment to Afghanistan changed everything.
In 2010, I was deployed with my comrades, and on October 17, 2010, I was wounded by enemy snipers in a firefight. Fortunately, I was pulled out of there by a brave crew of Americans, and that saved my life.
Tim was hit in the upper arm by a bullet. He was initially treated in Afghanistan before undergoing further operations in Germany, having 2 metal plates and 16 screws inserted. He struggled with psychological problems for a long time. and he can no longer move his upper arm and shoulder.
Jetzt ist mein Auftrag halt nicht mehr
My job is no longer to protect Germany in the Hindu Kush, but rather to win medals for Germany.
für Deutschland Medaillen zu holen. Und
That's a unique opportunity, and I have many people to thank for making it possible.
Menschen zu verdanken, die das tatsächlich dann noch auf den Weg gebracht haben.
Tim swapped one type of gun for another and fought to get his life back. The 36-year-old had to process his experiences from his military service 10 years earlier and recalibrate.
Man hat ein
You have a piece of sporting equipment in your hand
damit versucht man halt
and try to line up your shot perfectly.
Das ist für mich eine Sportart.
For me, this is a sport, and it's different on a basic level from the job of a soldier.
Den Auftrag von eines Soldaten.
At tournaments, athletes sit at the shooting range for an hour and a half. Working with the small-bore air rifle for such a long spell requires extreme concentration. To begin with, this element of the sport was tough for the career soldier. But Tim is ambitious and gradually got used to his new sporting life. Now he trains 6 times a week, chasing his dream.
Man ist im Nationalteam.
When you're in the national team and giving your all every day, at some point you want to reap the fruits of your labor.
Und das Ziel muss es sein, zu
The goal has to be the Olympics or Paralympics. I'll do everything I can to make that happen.
dann auch zu erreichen.
Strap in, open your eyes, and go. Training with the German wheelchair rugby team is not for the faint of heart, because in this sport, wheelchairs aren't only used by players to move around, but also to block opponents. And that can lead to some heavy collisions. In the middle of it all is Britta Kripke, the only woman in the German team.
Also geschenkt wird mir da nichts.
Nobody gives me an easy ride just because I'm a woman.
Und heute manchmal
Sometimes I look back and wonder how I made it this
dass
far.
ich überhaupt geschafft habe.
Now I
aber,
know that it has made me stronger.
Heute weiß ich, es hat mich auch stärker gemacht.
Britta has Charcot-Marie tooth disease, an affliction of the nervous system that causes progressive loss of muscle tissue. Her arms and legs are affected by the condition. She searched for a long time for a sport that she could take part in, and, after trying out several, opted for rugby.
Ich glaube, am besten fand ich das einfach in der Gruppe.
What I
war.
liked about
Das
it
ist so
was
ganz
that I was in a
fest.
group.
Und ja, dann, ich weiß gar nicht. Ich habe dann halt
So
den
then
Sport
I got a sports
gewechselt,
wheelchair
reingesetzt und dann
and
musste man
tried it
fahren
out.
und war dann halt
I felt
auch
worn out
so
pretty
Fußball,
quickly,
aber
but
es
it was
hat Spaß
fun.
gemacht, dass man
You have to
fahren
push and
musste,
exert yourself.
sich
That's something you otherwise
Kann man
can't
ja
do
sonst
as a
gar nicht,
disabled
wenn man
person.
körperbehindert
That was a new
ist.
experience for
Weiß
me.
ich nicht. Das war so für mich so eine ganz neue Erfahrung. Guck mal vorne.
The 43-year-old trains regularly at her sports club in Hamburg. Before training, everything has to be meticulously prepared. Protecting the athletes is the #1 priority. But it's worth the effort, because sport gives Britta energy for her day-to-day life.
Wenn mir jetzt zum Beispiel einer sagt,
If someone says they can't do this or that on their own, you don't get pity.
wird man da nicht bedauert, sondern man sagt,
Instead,
es
people
wird
say, if others can do
ganz
it,
ehrlich, wenn der und der das kann,
then with
dann
practice,
übt
so
das
can
halt.
you.
Und dann
That's how wheelchair rugby players are.
so sind wir eher.
Quick passing, blocking, thinking tactically. This full-contact sport is demanding for athletes. And that helps them deal with other situations in life too.
Schon alleine, dass man in einer
Just being
Gruppe
involved
zu
in a
tun
group
hat,
has helped me a
das hat
lot.
mir eigentlich schon sehr geholfen.
Suddenly,
Auf
I had
einmal
to give my opinions on things.
musste man seine Meinung
which I wasn't so keen on doing in the
Das
past.
habe ich ehrlich gesagt früher nicht so gerne gemacht. Und
Obviously,
natürlich
that's generally quite useful in life.
hilft einem das im ganzen Leben.
Sport has also helped Alhassane and gave him self-confidence from a young age. His family also supports him and even saved his life. As a disabled child in Guinea, he was unlikely to survive to adulthood.
In Guinea,
In Guinea, healthcare isn't good.
keine gute medizinische
I wouldn't have had a chance of achieving anything at all.
keine Chance gehabt, überhaupt irgendetwas zu
Basically,
erreichen.
I was very lucky that my uncle was in Germany and he studied here,
Hab im Grunde genommen
and that he and his wife took me away from Guinea.
ja, mein Onkel
That gave me a second chance.
hat und mit seiner Frau mich da sozusagen rausgeholt hat und mir ein zweites Leben geschenkt hat.
Alhassane grew up with his aunt and uncle. They quickly became like his mother and father. He studied in Mannheim and took part in international competitions while still a minor. But while he's happy as a person and an athlete, he is also sometimes confronted with everyday racism.
You have to remember, my dad is from Guinea and my mum is from Munster and has blonde hair. That constellation alone caused some issues. Growing up with these experiences and this knowledge and feeling those stares, that sharpened my senses.
Das schärft schon so die Sinne.
Sport gives him the energy and strength he needs to handle difficult situations. Through intensive training, Alhassane can push himself hard and clear his head. A life without sport is unthinkable.
Der Sport hat einen großen Einfluss auf meine Entwicklung gehabt.
Sport has had a huge impact on how I developed,
Als behinderter Mensch,
because as a disabled person, I have always looked for chances to join in.
also auch versucht habe,
I've tried to have a life and participate in society.
an der Gesellschaft und
Through
deswegen habe ich
sport,
halt durch
I have built up my confidence
großes Selbstvertrauen
and learned to define new goals.
hab durch
And
den
that's
Sport
something
gelernt.
fundamental in my life.
Das ja, ist etwas ganz Elementares in meinem Leben.